What's going on, my good people? This your boy Lap Up the Entertainer here to bring you some action between Miles College and Allen University. This is going to be an interesting band battle between both of these bands. I've been catching up with Miles College throughout majority of the season, so I don't think I'm going to have too much to grade from them here on out. I think I just have just a couple of things to grade, and that's it. This is my first time seeing Allen, so I don't think that they have that much footage, to be honest with you, when it comes down to their band. But if they do, I'm going to grade it. This is something that was on my radar. I wanted to give it a grade and see how, how it projects to everybody and, see how people feel about it and span this family, whatnot. But it's some good content, I'm going to give it to you raw and uncut and honesty. Before we start, this is not me bashing any band organization. This is me trying to uplift these band programs and give them some strong, suggestions and analyze their mistakes so people can understand who won. Some people do not know or are educated on the matter on, their significance in a battle. Okay? Now, granted, a lot of these things are my opinion, so it'd be different if it was a group of me. It's just me. So please do not get in your feelings before we even start this battle. Alright? So with that being said, look to the cards next to me so you know what we'll be grading. Okay? For halftime, we're going to be grading entrance, songs, formation, dancers, breakdown, and overall creativity. Maximum points they can make in those categories besides creative is 25. With that extra creative, they can get 30. Okay, if they're able to successfully get those points over time. Alright, if they're able to get all those points besides creative, I would give them a perfect field show rating. So, hey, that'll give them the extra range to keep pushing and give them some accolades on their performance. Okay, when we look at creativity, that just helps push the incentive and, probably give the other band another edge over the band. Alright, now when we look at that, we also have a fifth quarter. I'm not going to pull up that scale just yet, so sit tight and we're going to look into that next, okay? But we're going to get this halftime footage. Our more media got some good footage for both of these bands. I kind of wish that he kind of got a up view position. I think he did that for Allen, but for Miles he did up close. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would have preferred him to have it a little bit over. That's just me though. So with that being said, I'm going to shut up. Let's get into the action, okay?
Your drum majors.
Miles is first.
Ashira, Boys Life Young, Devontae Overstreet, Nathan Jackson, Rashad Goolsby, and your head drum major, Mikael Ross. Let's get this show started. Oh God, we thank you for the breath of Japan. You're being lost in our territory right now. Thank you.
I see more trotting than marching, you know what I'm saying?
time to get down with the dance routine with renditions of Glorilla, Big Boogie, and much, much more. Let's go.
Got the energy. Okay. Alright. Let's give that a grade. Creativity, I'm going to give it a 3. Almost a perfect in my eyes. I just wish I could have got a higher view before what I got. I got an up close view. So I'm going to give it to you raw and uncut. A lot of people got their legs up, but there was a couple people out there that was not really putting their legs up, especially in the beginning. There was some people who kind of foxtrotting a little bit. So I'm just like, you got to get your knees up. You know, you can mimic something, but it also demonstrates that, you know, if you foxtrotting, you know, you're not really marching. And so it's kind of like you halfway doing the motion. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me, though. You know, I'm not a big fan of foxtrotting, you know. But I just feel like if you're going to do it, you do it. My thing is, if you're a marching band, you get your knees up. I ain't talking about halfway, but you can tell, like, even when you had a close-up and I mentioned it, there was some people who got their knees up. Some people who barely got their knees up. And it could be, people be like, oh, well, he's just taller than me. He just looks off. Nah, if you got your knees up, we can tell. But anyway, entrance, I'm going to give them a 5. Songs, I'm going to give them a 5. Formations, because of the foxtrot, I'm going to give them a 4. Dancers, I'm going to give them a 5. Breakdown, I'm going to give them a 5. Almost a perfect, very strong score. Okay? Let's see what their net though. They got a 27. They got a 27. Not bad. Not bad. Good job. Good job, Mount College. That was very entertaining for what it was. Had no true complaints from it. Moving on. If y'all made it this far in the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It means so much to me. And if you're on Twitch, please give your boy a follow. Alright, up next we got Allen University. This is a smaller band than Miles, but they got an up top view, and that's why I was kind of hoping that they was going to do for Miles, but they did pretty much all up close. So, but, you know, that's still okay. So, we're just going to grade this up top view and give it to them raw and uncut. Let's get to it.
Lynn Lemon from St. George, South Carolina. patriarchs whose lives help shape our culture. First, we honor James Earl Jones with the playing of the theme from the 1988 box office hit, Coming to America. As we form our letters, AU. Now entering the field, the sophisticated ladies of the Golden Jackets. Be amazed by the rules as they honor our second patriarch for today's show, Frankie Beverly. They'll dance to his 1981 hit single, Running Away. HBCU bands are synonymous with the culture of their respective campuses. The BOG recognizes the third visionary patriarch of our show, Professor Arthur Means Jr. The maestro passed this summer and was instrumental in reestablishing the Miles College Band Program and founded the Purple Marching Machine in 1996. Head drum major Glenn Lemon will now present a plaque commemorating this moment and the life of Professor Means to Miles' band director, Professor Willie Snipes. Join the band as we play Because He Lives and extend our condolences and support to our musical counterparts from Miles College. Doyle McNew.
Alrighty, let's give that a grade. Alrighty, so creative, I'm gonna give them a 3. Was not a perfect field show. Entrance, I'm gonna give them a 5. Songs, I'm gonna give them a 4. I felt like there was some clarity issues. And the reason why I say that is that, when you're not marching, that should be the cleanest sound that we should deliver. We should be hearing. And I just felt like it was some people who kind of struggled. You know what I'm saying? Formations, I'm gonna give them a 5. Dancers, I'm gonna give them a 5. There was no breakdown.
Disappointing.
All right. It was no breakdown at all. It was a short field show. I just felt like they could have utilized their field show way better. I just think that it was missing just that initial edge. There was missing some substance, in that field show. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I just felt like there was no climax, and usually a breakdown can give you that. It had a happy ending with the presentation, but I just feel like I've seen a lot of presentations since I've been doing this, and I know when I do a presentation, they still give us something to, get that hypeness off of, and so I wasn't receiving that from them. And that's not me hating on them at all. That's just my honest critique. I just felt like they could have utilized that field show better. That's just me. That's just me. So they got a 22. They got a 22. Alright. Alright. So let's give that let's give the verdict so far. Right now, current standings. Alright. Miles is ahead by 5 points. Alright. They are ahead by 5 points due to the fact that they were not able to deliver a field show. And I think that was just not a field show, but a breakdown. And I just think that, that's just what it is, on my opinion. I just think that Miles was definitely stronger on that field. Definitely stronger on the field. And it doesn't matter, the size of a band. I've seen a band that's very small still put on a clinic on the field. It does not matter the size of the band. It's your presentation. And I just feel like it was just missing that. But, beggars can't be choosers, but that's what it is right now. That's the current standings. Now, they could all change in fifth. I don't know what to expect from this, but they could definitely change in fifth. Alright? So, with that being said, look to the cards next to me so you know what we'll be grading. We're going to be grading sound selection, power, articulation, arrangement, and overall cleanness. Maximum points they can make all together is 50. Alright? If they're able to get 10 in every category, I would give them a perfect. Okay? That's me giving them praise for consistency. Alright? I have tiers to it, so just because one band doesn't get it doesn't mean that they still can't punch a giant or whatnot. Okay, things can change. People can start messing up because they think that they smashing, but they really are not. So, with that being said, I did enough rambling. Again, if you made it to this far, like and subscribe. Let's get into the action. Alright, this is going to be an interesting film. Alright, let's give that a grade. Alright, song selection, I'm going to give them a 10. Power, I'm going to give them a 10. Articulation, I'm going to give them a 10. Arrangement, I'm going to give them a 10. Cleanness, I'm going to give them a 9. Okay? Almost a perfect. I just feel like there was some parts that was kind of muddy. You got to remember this too. This is a very small band, so they're not going to project like how some bands do. So you have to give them grace on that. But they definitely have the confidence to project some. Okay. From what I'm getting, I just feel like it was just some parts that they just need to work on with just getting their phrases just right, just a tad bit. It was just a little bloody at some points when it came down to certain transitions, but for the majority, it was good. Especially in the beginning, it sounded real good at the beginning. Moving on, very controlled. Alright, song selection, everything about that was nice. Okay, so they got a 50. They got a 50. So that was pretty nice. Um, Good way to utilize dynamics. That's one thing I will say. I am glad that they let some people rest for a little bit in the arrangement just for them to project more. So, but I enjoyed that piece. I enjoyed that piece. Moving on. Okay, Alan. Yeah, Alan. Okay. It was short lived, but I enjoyed it. Yes, indeed. That was nice. That was not bad at all. I enjoyed that from them. Yeah. Gotta give them that, man. Gotta give them that. That was nice. I really enjoyed that from them. It really gave, it shows their range in their book, at least, that they're willing to slow it down. I wish we could have got a little bit more in it, but hey, it was short lived, but I liked it. Alright, moving on. See if y'all slow it down for us. Alright, let's give that a grade. Sound selection, I'm gonna give them an 8 on that. Power is a 10. Articulation's 10. Arrangement, I'm gonna give them a 10. Cleanness, I'm gonna give them a 10. It was very strong for the majority. My problem is the fact that because Alan slowed it down, I was expecting y'all to slow it down as well. I get that y'all want to keep things at a certain speed, but if somebody challenges your book, you come out and show them what you have. If y'all don't have anything that's slow, this is gonna definitely hurt y'all. You know, um, but I just feel like that was definitely a book decision. I feel like they could have played something slow to complement what Alan played. All right, that's just me though. That's just me though. Everything else sounded good for at least for the majority. Couldn't really pinpoint anything, but I was kind of disappointed in Miles that they didn't really slow it down for us. All right, moving on. Alright, song selection, I'm going to give them a 10. Power, I'm going to give them a 10. Articulation, I'm going to give them a 9. Arrangement, I'm going to give them a 10. Cleanness, I'm going to give them an 8. Alright, definitely some, I'm like this, y'all, small band. If y'all can play within the ensemble, y'all gonna sound big. But when you try to put power in behind it, it's not gonna sound as good because you can stick out. And that's when we get down to tone quality. Tone quality is something serious. It was awesome. Some phrasing issues in that as well. So it kind of made it like it was a little bit muddy as well. But y'all played in confidence. Y'all had confidence behind it. I just feel like it was just missing that initial edge for me. Okay? Alright, moving on. Okay, trombones. Alright, let's give that a grade. That was nice. Give that shit a Ric Flair moment. Woo! Oh, that was nice. Oh, that was nice. No complaints at all on that. No complaints again. Like, they played with their dynamics. It was nice. I have no true complaints from that. From Miles. That was pretty dope. Pretty dope. Moving on. Okay, Alan. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Alright, song selections 10, powers 10. They really showcased their power on that one because they stayed inside the ensemble. Articulation, I'm gonna give them a 10. Arrangement, I'm gonna give them a 10. Cleanness, I'm gonna give them a 9. Almost a perfect. I just feel like if the trombone part was just a tad bit cleaner, I would have gave it a perfect. It was nice. It was nice for the majority. I just think that, if they just rounded it off, just to solve a couple of hinges on that, the edges on that, get that right, yeah, it would be nice. But strong arrangement, but for the majority, everybody else did pretty good. Alright, moving on. Alright, Miles, let's see what y'all gonna respond with. Alright. I really love that arrangement. But I'm mad because the tubas kind of they messed it up though. All right. So song selections 10, power is a 10. Articulation, I'm gonna give them a 9. Arrangements 10, cleanness, I'm gonna give them a 9. They got a 48 on that one. I think that was the strongest Allen gave. That helped out Allen a little bit. I just felt like the tubas kind of was not playing together, and there was some attacking issues with the tubas. Either that was not playing in sync, and there was some muddy parts on just some of the tuba break too. So I just felt like everybody else was clean, but the tubas ruined it, and that was a fire ass arrangement. I'm gonna be real with you. That was a fire ass arrangement. I'm kind of disappointed in them for that one. Really am. All right, moving on. Look like this is gonna be our last round that we're gonna be grading. Okay. Alright, let's give that a grade. Sound selection's 10. Power, I'm gonna give them a 10. Articulation, I'm gonna give them a 10. Arrangement, I'm gonna give them an 8. Cleanness, I'm gonna give them a 9. There's still some spots that I feel like they could be just a tad bit clean with the trumpets. But, besides that, that was pretty much it on that end. Let's get that a grade. I got a 47 on that one. Alright, moving on. I think that was Ellen trying to play it right back at him. Yeah, that was Ellen trying to play it back at him. Alright, let's give that a grade. Alright, sound selection's 10, power is a 10, articulation's a 10, arrangement, I'm going to give them an 8. Cleanness, I'm going to give them a 10. It was just a big loop. But I got a 48, man. Well, that was a battle, ladies and gentlemen. That definitely was a battle. That was an interesting battle, but that was very interesting. Whew. Yeah, man. What I'm gonna say about that battle, it was cool. It was cool for what it was. I would say is that sometimes if you're going against a smaller band, please don't talk shit about them. That's just me though. That's like adding insult to injury, because y'all 3 times the size of that band and y'all talking shit. That's just me though. I'm just being real. I'm gonna be real. I call a spade, but I'm just like, man, don't talk shit across the field. Don't do it. Don't do it. Alright. Let's give it a grade. So y'all can hear my verdict. We're gonna just go down the line with each grade. It was an interesting fifth. But you know, it couldn't get tight. It could get tight, but one band's just like consistency. Both bands weren't consistent at all. There was no bragging. There shouldn't be no bragging because there was some stuff that they was messing up on as well. That's just me personally. Okay. Um, but let's get to it. We're going to grade all of it together and we're going to post that grade up top. Okay. We're going to start off with Miles and then we're going to do Allen's next. Okay. $271. $271. Let's look at Allen's. See what they got. $264. $264. Let's see that difference. 7-point difference. 7-point difference. Alrighty. William of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Miles College won this one by 7 points. It was not a close battle. Alright. So, let me explain what both bands can work on and why I chose Miles over Allen.
Victory.
Alright. So, reason why I chose Miles over Allen, especially when it comes down to the grades, etc. The field show was stronger than them by a humongous margin. So they was up by 5. Alright, already. Now, they was able to keep that record and add some change to it because of Fifth. Alright? But doesn't mean that Allen did not punch him in the face in that Fifth. They low-key kind of did. On my grading scale, if I look at it right, Allen was able to beat them out of 5 battles, 5 rounds. They was able to punch them 2 times. They was able to punch them 2 times. All right, so you can't sit there and brag, you know. You feel me? But like I said, they was able to punch them 2 times, and Allen got my respect. That's a small band, but it seemed like they got their battles together as far as that. I would really want them to really work on tone quality, and I would really want them to really work on staying within the ensemble. Okay? You don't have to do too much to sound good. You can be a small band, but sound better than a big band any day. Alright? David versus Goliath. You feel me? And I seen some stuff happen. I seen some small bands punch some humongous bands in the face. So, I seen it. So, you know, y'all keep your heads up when it comes down to that. It was very fun and very nice, interesting to see Allen. Alright, Allen University. Hopefully, you know, I'll get a chance to see some more content from y'all if y'all post anything, or if I can ever find some footage of y'all. But it was good to see y'all at least once. Alright, so with that being said, man, Miles won this one. If y'all made it to the end of this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It means so much to me. I'm finna get up out of here, guys, and like I tell y'all always, deuces.